Welcome back, CSC103, to part 2 of our Bat Witch Gravit vector assignment. And so far we have some bats, and we have a moon, and we have a background with a gradient, and we traced over a real bat. And what we're going to do is put some other artwork in here right now, and we're going to kind of cheat a little bit because we're going to let Gravit trace it for us. That's not as much fun, and it's not always as accurate, but it's a quicker way of doing it, and you can actually get some more interesting graphics in there, and it's a lot faster. So I'll show you that in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to search a witch. Now you could try anything else, but I'm going to search witch silhouette. Now you might not know what a silhouette is, and you might not know how to spell it, so it's like silhouette. Silhouette, that means it's going to be just kind of black and white. That's what we want. We don't want a picture of a witch in this case. We did with the bat, but in this case, we're just going to look for a witch silhouette. So let me just kind of caution you that what we're doing is probably against copyright restrictions, because you're probably going to copy someone else's artwork if it's already a silhouette. So that's what I'm saying, but we're going to convert it to vector, so we'll see how it goes. So don't sell this for a lot of money because you might get sued. All right, so I'm going to go into witch silhouette, and I'm going to go into images, and I'll just find a simple one. You don't have to find anything really detailed. There's a lot of detail in that, even though it looks nice. Maybe find one that's a little more simple, and it's going to go flying through the moon. So make sure it's like on a broom. So this one looks okay. I'm going to try this out and see how this works. Now I'm just going to click on it, and over here, I don't have to open up the bigger image. What I'm actually going to do is just right click on it and say copy image, and then go back to Gravit and just right on my page here. Remember, I can't do edit paste. I'm just going to do either Control V on Windows or Command V. So I'm going to do Command V, and there it is. Now it's not vector art right now. If I go to view, outline view, and I see the X-ray, I'm seeing the X-ray of all my paths. There's the rectangle, there's my 4 bats, and there's the moon. There's no X-ray of the witch because it's not vector art. It's like a ping image or something. It's pixels right now. Even though it doesn't look like pixels, if I zoomed in, it is. So I'm going to turn off outline view. And if I zoom in, I don't know if I could see if they're pixels. If you see, if I zoom in really far, you'll see the pixels there. So we want vector art. We won't see that if we have vector art. So I'm going to zoom back again, and I'm doing Command plus to zoom in, Command minus to zoom out, and use Control for Windows. And I'm going to use kind of a cheater tool in Gravit. Illustrator has this as well. It's called Auto Trace. And I'm going to select this thing called Image, and it's the witch. And if you wanted to call it witch, you could. You could just call it witch and just change the name so you could recognize it over there. Now with it selected, I'm going to go to Modify, Path, and it says Vectorize Image. And what a better way to learn about vector graphics than to vectorize an image. And I'm just going to click on that. And there it is. Now you might say, well, it didn't do anything. Well, if you go to View, Outline View, it actually did. It actually made vector artwork. Now it's overlapping everything else, but it's there. And I'll go back to View and turn that off, Outline View. And what you can do is, obviously you don't want that white background. How do you get rid of that? Well, what you do is use your sub-select tool. Use that arrow there, the sub-select, and then just click on the white area. Now, in some graphics, there might be different areas you have to click on, especially if the black goes to the edge. But here, if I just click on the white area and hit delete, it's gone. Now I have a witch. Now there's still some white areas, but let me grab it with my regular pointer first and just move it here, because there's a couple white areas inside which I can get rid of, although it's fine the way it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this witch down and put it in front of the moon, and then I'll move my bat down a little bit, and I'll put this witch in front of the moon there, and that looks pretty cool. And now that you saw how easy that is, you might think, wow, I can do a haunted house, I can do a tree, I could do anything. As long as you search silhouette, you'll have a lot easier time doing it. You know, and as long as there's not a lot of inner shapes, because you might have to get rid of those inner shapes. Like if you use something like this, you're going to have to get rid of all that white on the inside. So something else I was just looking up, like zombies, because I know zombies were popular with the Walking Dead when that came out a couple years ago. I watched the first 3 seasons. I haven't watched it since. So zombie silhouette, we could find a zombie, and I'm just going to find one zombie if I could. Now, if you click on one of these, you'll see stuff on the side here, and I could look for one zombie if I could. Maybe I should just find zombie silhouette. That would be easier. And then I'll find one. That looks like a zombie. Let me click on it. And that looks pretty good. And I'll right click on it and choose copy image. And I'll go back to Gravit and I'll just do Command V or Control V. And there it is. And I'll do the same thing if I want to make it vector. And then that way when it's vector, you could change the color, you could do whatever you want. So I would just go to Modify, Path, and make sure it's selected, and Vectorize Image. And this one should be the same thing. I should be able to go to my Sub-Select tool and click on the background and hit Delete. And how cool is that? And then that way, if you want to change the color, I'll go back to my pointer. You know, maybe you want to make them like a purple color. And I'm not seeing a fill color here because actually it's treating it like a group. I guess it's like in a group here. So you have to go over here and click on where it says path, this black part here. You could do that. And it's a little tricky if you want to change the color. But then if I wanted to change the color and I want to make it like a purple, like a really dark purple, something like that, then I could do that. Now I have my zombie, and I guess I'll go back on the group thing. You should be able to grab either. And I'm just going to scale it down. That way, if you want to make a bunch of them, you can make one big one. And then you could keep doing that like Command D and make a copy. And then you can make a whole army of zombies if you want. Maybe they're getting smaller in the background. You could option drag one of them. Maybe you could flip it around. You could just grab a handle and flip it around like a door. You could do that and put one over here so they look a little different. They could be smaller. You could just put some zombies here. You could put whatever you want here. I'm just option dragging. I'm holding my Option key, or if you're on Windows, hold your Alt key, and then just making smaller ones here. You can put as many as you want here. Just put a couple little ones down here so that they look like they're kind of going off. So I have a bunch of zombies here, and you could, you know, people have done things with like haunted houses and stuff like that. But now I have a little Halloween themed layout here with a bunch of stuff. So obviously you could see how when you start building up a lot of stuff, you have to be more kind of organized with your layers, because now I have all these groups all over the place. It could get confusing. Although it's nice that you could just click on something and there it is. But each of these things are a group. You could ungroup them, I guess, because there's nothing that's really grouped together, I think. But if you need to get inside and change the color, you just have to go inside the group and change the color if you needed to. If I wanted to go here and make it just black again, something like that, and put that one in black. So that's all you have to do. That's part 2 of this. And just throw a witch in there if you want to throw some zombies, a haunted house, whatever. Again, if you use something that has white on the inside, you just might have to use your Sub-Select tool and click on the white parts and delete them again if you have a little bit more complicated image. But there's a lot of cool things you could do with both the Vectorize Image, that's like an auto trace that we used, plus just tracing things by hand, making your own graphics. This, probably more of a copyright issue. This way, when you're tracing it, is not as much of a copyright issue because you're making it your own by tracing it. This is you're using a tool to do that. But either way, you're still making it into vector artwork. So everything we have here is vector. I'll make sure I look at it and go, they better have all vector artwork, and I'll go into outline view and I'll see that all this stuff is vector artwork, and I'll be very happy when I see that. And then all you have to do is save it. Make sure you save it one more time. Don't share it right away. Make sure you hit the save button, and then it turns gray, and then it says syncing, and then there's no asterisk over here. And then you can share, and then you can copy this, copy the URL, and then go back to coursework in My Warren, and under Unit 4, look for Gravit Bat Witch and click on it, and just add a comment. You're not adding an image, unless you download it or something, but you're not adding an image, you're adding a link. Click on there, paste it, and just let those 2 things fill up. You don't have to put a title. Just change this to new window, because that makes life a lot easier when I go through them to look at them and grade them. So just choose new window, then hit OK, and then hit save, and then you're done. And by the way, if you ever wanted to download it and have a copy of it for your own, if you're like, oh, this is cool, how do I get it out of Gravit? You can go here and go File, Export, and you can export a PNG image, you can export a PDF, you could export anything you want, and then you could save it on your own computer. So if you're ever like not in Gravit anymore, I would recommend saving a PDF, because then it saves in vectors. If you go to PDF and you do 150, you can actually open that up in Illustrator. So that keeps all the vector artwork. Plus PDF is fairly universal. But you could save it as a PNG or a JPEG or anything else. But if you save it as a PDF, it's pretty portable as well. That's why it's called a portable document format, and it saves the vector. So if you need to download it, you can export it as one of these formats and just download it. And then there it is. It's downloaded as a PDF file. That way you could send it to friends and as a Halloween card. All right, that's it for 6C, our Gravit vector exercise, our Halloween exercise using Gravit.